It was a seemingly ordinary Friday evening in suburban Ohio. The streets were quiet. Porch lights cast a gentle glow, and the distant bark of a dog was the only thing breaking the silence. Families were settling in, winding down after a long week. No one on that block could have possibly imagined that one of the rented houses, looking just like any other, was actually the epicenter of a meticulously planned sting operation. Slows inside that house. The scene was anything but ordinary. Hidden cameras were strategically placed, recording every angle. Microphones were concealed behind decorations, ready to capture every word. And in a quiet room, a man America already knew well from television was reviewing printed chat messages. His name was Chris Hansen. For weeks, his investigative team had been engaged in online conversations with multiple individuals. People who felt comfortable messaging those they believed were underage teens. They were running a decoy operation, and tonight, one case in particular was about to reach its dramatic conclusion. The suspect was a 43-year-old married man named Daniel. Throughout the entire online chat, he was under the firm belief that he was communicating with a teenage girl. The conversation started innocently enough, with casual, light-hearted messages. But as time went on, with each message he sent, he grew more careless with his words, and his suggestions became increasingly bold. He started proposing that he could drive over to her house late at night. And there was one peculiar detail. He kept repeating pizza. He said he could stop at a popular pizza shop on his way. In his mind, it was the perfect cover story. It would look normal. He said it would be his excuse. After several days of back-and-forth messaging, he finally committed. He said he could come over on Friday evening. The decoy then delivered the trigger line, telling him her parents wouldn't be home. The moment he agreed to come over, knowing her parents were gone, the case was already legally complete. He had no idea that the address he'd been given wasn't a miner's home. He had no idea that a professional team was waiting for him. And he certainly had no idea that he would not be leaving the same way he arrived. Around 8:55 p.m., Daniel got into his grey sedan. He put his wallet in his side pocket, adjusted the rearview mirror, and started the 32-minute drive shown on his GPS. During that entire journey, he tried to convince himself that he wasn't doing anything wrong. He kept telling himself he was just dropping off some pizza. But if he truly believed that, his hands wouldn't have been shaking on the steering wheel. The traffic was light. He nervously watched the clock, the minutes ticking by. He even kept rereading the chat messages, making sure he remembered the exact instructions. The decoy had told him to just lightly push open the front door and step inside. The idea churned in his stomach, a knot of unease, but he kept driving. Guilt was a passenger in the car with him, but the fear of getting caught wasn't enough to make him turn back. He pulled up in front of the house a little after 9:30 p.m. The street was completely empty. Not a single neighbor was outside. Just as he was told, the porch light was on, a welcoming beacon for his sinister plan. He took a deep, shaky breath, grabbed the pizza box from the passenger seat, and walked towards the house. He gently pushed the door. It swung open, stepped inside. The moment he crossed the threshold, he was on 6 different cameras, from 6 different angles. He placed the pizza box on the kitchen counter. His nerves were shot. His eyes darted around the room, searching for any sign of movement, his body tense with anticipation. Just then, he heard a voice from the hallway. "Can you wait there for a minute? I'll be right out." That was the signal. From that same hallway, Chris Hansen slowly emerged, a folder in his hand. He looked calm, focused, and completely in control. Daniel recognized him instantly. His heart plummeted. Chris spoke first, his voice even and direct. "Why don't you have a seat right over there?" There was no yelling, no aggression. Just a calm command that carried immense weight. Daniel knew, in that gut-wrenching moment, that he had been caught holiday. He collapsed into a wooden chair near the kitchen island, unable to run, unable to speak. His face was pale, glistening with sweat. Chris opened the folder. "You were communicating with someone online," he began. "You believed they were a teenager. We have the transcripts, and we have your arrival tonight on camera." Daniel tried to speak, but his voice cracked. He mumbled something about just being there to deliver a pizza. Chris calmly flipped a page in the folder. Free. You said you would come when her parents weren't home. Why would you come to a young person's house at night when her parents were away? His excuses crumbled. He looked desperately around the room, hoping this was all a terrible nightmare, a misunderstanding he could somehow explain away. But everything was recorded. The evidence was irrefutable. Chris then told him he was free to leave. No one was forcing him to stay. Shaking, Daniel slowly stood up and began walking toward the front door, his breathing heavy and ragged. He was desperately trying to rehearse a new excuse in his head. Maybe he could say he got the wrong house. Maybe he could claim he didn't know anything about it. As he stepped outside, his world came crashing down. Multiple armed officers emerged from the side yard and the driveway, surrounding him in an instant. He fell to his knees without a fight. They placed him in handcuffs, read him his rights, and escorted him to a waiting police vehicle. Back inside the Sting house, Chris Hansen sat down, looked directly into the main camera, and delivered a powerful message. When grown adults arrive at a house, believing they are meeting a teenager, the intention is enough to destroy multiple lives. Tonight, one more case is stopped before a real victim could be hurt. On the kitchen counter, the pizza sat untouched, growing colder by the minute, a sad monument to a crime that was thankfully prevented. The Sting team began to wrap up, collecting their equipment, gathering the evidence, and preparing for the next case. Because as long as there are people willing to cross these dangerous boundaries, there will always be dedicated teams like this, working tirelessly to prevent harm. And in that quiet American neighborhood, on that ordinary Friday evening, justice was delivered before a much darker story could ever begin. Because sometimes, the only thing standing between a planned crime and a protected child is one door, one hidden camera, and one man walking out with a folder. Chris Hansen closed that folder, and another chapter of safety was written. Thank you for watching. These stories are a stark reminder of the hidden dangers that exist. If you appreciate the work being done to expose and prevent these crimes, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more content like this. Stay safe out there.